Oi! How you doing there? I'm Jason. I'm about to continue with the synopsis of the story. I'm going to start with the introduction, and then I'm going to explain the story from the three different perspectives of the characters, and then, of course, the resolution. So I'll start with the introduction. On a warm, sunny day in the early 2000s, two families gather in Milan for a very traditional Italian wedding. The bride comes from a wealthy family that is well known in Milan. The wedding is performed in a small church in the city, where you see the beautiful bride and the groom kiss as both families cheer. The newlyweds exit the church and drive off, and the remaining guests follow as they make their way to the reception. So now I will start with Giovanni's perspective. The first sequence is told through the eyes of the brother of the bride, Giovanni Romano. Throughout the entire wedding, Giovanni continues to make eye contact across the room with Niccolo. Niccolo throws an occasional wink, and Giovanni sees he is being watched by more people than just Niccolo. Throughout the rest of the wedding, he tries not to look back at Niccolo. It's been an almost suicidal struggle for Giovanni. He believes his family would exile him if they ever found out the truth. The wedding is making the struggle of lying more difficult than ever before. He knows he loves Niccolo and may not be able to hold it back any longer. Giovanni's father passive-aggressively mentions his haste for him lacking to have a date at the wedding. Giovanni's heart is pounding, his thoughts are racing, but he shrugs it off. He's a good-looking guy. There's no reason he shouldn't have a date. Giovanni continues to be heckled about dates. In front of his father Carlo, the family friend Marco suggests his daughter should date Giovanni. This kills Giovanni inside. His lover Marco's son, Niccolo. They continue to hound him, and eventually, Giovanni shouts out the truth in front of everybody. The room goes silent for a short moment before Carlo reacts and leaves the scene in disappointment. Giovanni looks at Niccolo, who is also in shock, and hopes Niccolo gains the courage to come out as well. Niccolo sits there in silence. Giovanni feels somewhat relieved, but also betrayed by Niccolo. He wishes that Niccolo would come out too and support him, but he doesn't. As the night goes on, Giovanni can sense tension in the air. Some family members are just staring at him with faces full of judgment. He senses some pity from his sister, but she doesn't do much to back him up. Finally, Giovanni feels relieved when Niccolo takes the initiative to dance with him. It feels like he has no more stress. All he really cares about is that he can freely and openly love Niccolo. So next, I'll explain Carlo's side of the story. So the second sequence is told through the eyes of the father of the bride, Carlo Romano. As the bride and groom happily exit the church, the father assists the new couple into the car as he happily cries while watching his perfect daughter drive away. Getting into the limo along with his wife and son, the father expresses how proud he is for his daughter for having a career and marrying a man who is successful and loves his daughter. As the limo approaches the reception, the father turns to the son and says, "If only you had a beautiful date on your arm, this could have been a perfect wedding." As Carlo enters the reception with his wife of 28 years, family and friends congratulate them on the wedding. The coworkers and friends Marco stops Carlo for a chat. They talk about how beautiful his daughter looks and how happy the family must be. Marco brings up the idea of his younger daughter and Giovanni dating, and Carlo agrees and wishes his son would settle down. As dinner is served and the family sits together at a table along with Marco's family, Carlo again comments on how Giovanni has no date to his sister's wedding and doesn't understand why he has yet to settle down and find a wife. His wife joins in and points out some potential women that he could date. Flustered and tired of hiding the truth, Giovanni comes out and silence overcomes the table. Trying to remain calm, Carlo attempts to brush it off and makes a joke about it until he realizes how serious his son is when Giovanni and Marco's son, Niccolo, comfort each other. Embarrassed by his son's actions, he leaves the reception room to get fresh air. Hold on one sec. Okay, we're back. Where was I? Okay, I'll start here. Embarrassed by his son's actions, he leaves the reception room to get fresh air as he grabs a bottle of rum. Giulietta tries to calm her father down and explain how Giovanni is still the same son, and how times have changed and people are accepting all types of love. Angered by this, he expresses how tradition cannot be changed and refuses to talk to his son as the reception goes on. Once he has cooled down, he returns to the reception and tells his family that the issue can be fixed later and to go on with the night as nothing has happened. When it is time for the newlyweds' first dance, all couples are asked to join. Dancing with his wife, Carlo glances over and sees Giovanni and Niccolò dancing together, laughing and smiling. The party begins to blur and Carlo feels confused when he sees others accepting his son's love. Reality hits him. Finally, the third sequence, is told through the eyes of the bride of the sister Giovanni, and this character's name is Giulietta Romano. With tears in her eyes, Giulietta looks towards her new husband and as her dad proudly closes the door of the car that will carry her off to the reception. Today has been more than anything Giulietta could have hoped for. This was the first where she actually felt like her life was really coming together. She was now married to the love of her life and was successfully starting a new career. While getting out of the car, Giulietta reaches for the hand of her husband as they walk into the reception room. Everyone in the room stands up and congratulates the newly married couple. Looking around, Giulietta is overwhelmed by the sight of all her family and friends there to support her on her special day. Giulietta then makes the way to the long table where her family and close family friends, the Rossis, are seated. As dinner is being served, Giulietta's parents continue to nag her brother, Giovanni, about his younger sister beating him to the altar. This has been a common theme while she was growing up. Giulietta has dated a fair share of guys in the past, while Giovanni has very seldom brought a girl home to meet the parents. Giulietta starts to blush as she knows more about her brother than even her parents do. The frustration on Giovanni's face begins to build, and then Giovanni announces that he is gay. Giulietta is not shocked by this fact because it's something that Giovanni told her years ago, but she is shocked that Giovanni decided to mention it in front of their conservative father at that time. Giulietta nervously looks over to her father, who surprisingly looks very calm and starts to poke fun at gays. As the table began to quiet down, realization started to hit Carlo, and he rushed away from the table in a frustrated manner. Giulietta rushes after her father in order to comfort him. She tries to explain to him that Giovanni's sexuality is nothing to be ashamed of. The times have changed now, Dad. Love doesn't have to be shared between just a man, she said. Carlo begins to tell his daughter how proud he is of her and does not understand why his only son is trying to shame his family. Not wanting to hear this on her wedding day, Giulietta gets up angrily and walks back to the reception room. As the night continues, it is finally time for Giulietta's first dance as a married woman. As they start to dance, soon her friends and family began to join her. Glancing up, she sees Giovanni happily dancing with Niccolò. Giulietta smiles and is proud of her brother for accepting who he is and not hiding it any longer. So now this brings us to the resolution. As the night comes to an end, Carlo grabs the mic to make a final announcement. He celebrates the new couple and gives the best wishes. Still conflicted with his feelings, he chokes back tears and frustration and says, "Cheers to love. No matter who you fall in love with, love is love. Even though it will be hard to get used to, I want my son to know that he is still my son. He always will be. And after seeing how happy you were tonight, I'll try to make my views and will love you no matter what. I'll try to change my views and will love you no matter what," he said. Majority of the guests cheer and clap. The Romano family gathers for final cheers. Carlo places his arm around his son and all raise their glasses as he says, "Cheers to a perfect wedding." And there's the story. Cheers.